I don't think you're using that tool correctly. Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. So I get a lot of comments from people who tell me that I'm not using one of my very favorite tools from Stuart McDonald correctly. And of course, that tool is the nut slot depth gauge. And we're going to kind of deep dive into this tool today. I've got 3 of them out here, as well as another dial indicator gauge that I got from StewMac. This is a neck straightness gauge. We're going to talk about all these dial indicator gauges from StewMac, and I'm going to, if you don't have one already, I'm going to try to convince you to get one. Guys, even if you're not a guitar repair shop, but you just have a guitar or a couple guitars, I'm going to attempt to convince you that this is the tool that you should have if you only have a couple of things, right? We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And of course, I'm going to be demoing a little bit on my Texas Toast Challenger Wildwood Level 2. Man, this guitar is so nice. This is like the Excalibur. Okay? If you are... Man, this might make you feel like procreating, okay? This guitar is so beautiful and so sexy, and... yeah, okay, yeah. I love these guitars so much, but I'm gonna demo on this. Sorry, I had to kind of nerd out a little bit on that. So I get a lot of YouTube comments. A lot of you guys are really, really cool, and thank you for all the YouTube comments, whether it's a cool one or you're being a grump. But I get a lot of YouTube comments. The vast majority of them are very, very cool comments to get. However, sometimes I get some comments that are like, hey, you don't know how to use that tool. The one that I got recently, and this guy's not being a grouch, he's just telling me I'm using the tool incorrectly. And he's suggesting that in order to use this tool anywhere but the nut area, you need to do it in the playing position. Well, okay, I get that. And we're gonna kind of talk about that a little bit, but you know, I think that this stems from Dan Erlewine telling people to do things in the playing position, and sometimes he has it mounted on he has a guitar mounted on one of those, guitar. I don't know what they're called, the jig that holds the guitar in lots of positions, including the playing position, to do things like set intonation and things. Now, you guys need to know something. Dan Erlewine has probably forgotten more about building and repairing guitars in the last 10 minutes than most people will ever know. Okay? If Dan Erlewine says something, then you can take it to the bank. However, I don't think that Dan Erlewine has ever said that this tool needs to be used in the playing position. I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is. Okay? So, first of all, this tool right here, the digital nut slot depth gauge, I have been a fan of these for so long that my original one isn't digital. It's a dial indicator, okay? And it still works like $100 million. It's basically the same thing. Let me move this guitar out of the way here so I don't drop one of these gauges on it and ding the finish. Okay, so let's go to my original one here. It works exactly the same way. There's a little block. The block is cool, and this is really what you're paying for, because it suspends your dial indicator gauge or your digital indicator gauge over the strings and over the strings and over a fret. Okay, and there's a little set screw that holds your dial indicator gauge into the into the block. Now, whether you have the dial or the digital one, the gauge is the same. And the important part here is what I want you to notice: when I turn it upside down, that the piece that actually rides, that actually does the measuring, is being affected by gravity. Okay, there's no spring pushing it out. Okay, sometimes some dial indicators and digital indicator gauges have a spring. What pushes it out? Okay, but I want you to see something here. Well, look, it doesn't have a spring. Okay, there's no tension on this except for the weight of the piece. And now that's something. All right, and just to prove it to you. All right, and I got this guy here. Look what happens when I turn it upside down. See, the plunger actually falls. It is affected by gravity under its own weight. Now, the neck straightness gauge is not. Okay, and I will prove to you that it's not by flipping it upside down. Watch the bottom here. Okay, this guy is spring loaded because this is a different kind of tool, gang. Okay, let's just talk about this tool. I really like this neck straightness gauge. What you do is you put each one of these legs onto one of the frets and then balance the plunger goes on a fret in the middle, so you kind of have to get it exactly right. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. You have to kind of fidget this around so that your plunger is on a fret and the legs are on a fret. And it presupposes that your frets are level. Okay? If you can't, this will not work on frets that aren't leveled. Okay, well, very well anyway. And this tool might be one that is a good idea to use in the playing position. Mostly because the plunger is spring loaded. Okay, and you're not measuring string height with this. Okay? All right. This is a good tool. Pick one of these up. If you're a repair guy or if you're a builder, you should pick one up. If you are just someone who likes to set up your own guitars, I would say that that's not entirely necessary. I'm not going to tell you to not get it, but you might not need it. Okay? I think you can do a lot of work without it. And you know, StewMac's not giving it away. Okay? They didn't give that one to me. I had to buy that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about our nut slot depth gauge. The nut slot depth gauge is, as you know, if you've been to one of the workshops here at Texas Toast Guitars, you know that it is ideally suited. As a matter of fact, it was designed so that you could measure the string. Okay, you can measure the distance between the bottom of each string to the top of the first fret. Okay? And that's what that tool was actually designed for. However, we've discovered, and it's not like, you know, we're the members of Mensa or anything, but we've discovered that you can use it anywhere else on the neck to get a baseline for adjusting the bridge. Okay? Now, some people are like, well, the weight of the plunger is going to impact the distance of the string from the bottom of the string to the top of the fret, let's say the 12th fret, because it's right in the middle. Yeah, it does a little bit. But what you can do is you can measure a guitar that you like, and if it's tuned to the same pitch, it's going to be roughly consistent when you switch to another guitar that you want to set up to be the same. Okay? Feeler gauges do not work. I don't care how many times people tell me feeler gauges work. They don't, because the string can move up and down. And if you have a feeler gauge that is too thick and you shove it in there, you could be moving the string up without knowing about it. So I don't know how people are like, oh yeah, well the digital gauge is actually pressing down, and you might be pressing down more than. I tell you what, you can move a string without seeing it with a feeler gauge that's too thick, way easier than and way more than this gauge is going to move it, and I'll prove it to you. You know, if Guys, if you don't like my videos, or if you think I'm trying to get you to spend money and you don't want to spend money, or if you've just been doing it for 50 years the same way and you think you're smarter than I am, maybe you are. Just do it the same way you've been doing it. Who cares what I think? I'm showing you the easy way, okay? If you want to set up guitars standing on your head, fine, I don't care. But I'm trying to make this easy for people who want to do this the easy way. This is also the most repeatable, and you have to have, you don't have to have really any skills other than vision and knowing how to use these tools to do it correctly. I'm sure that guys who've been doing this longer than me, and I'm not even going to try to tell you my bona fides because a lot of you guys know them already. I'm not going to go into that. But people who've been doing this longer than me are probably very, very good at using feeler gauges and kind of going, yep, that's about right. You just get good at stuff, okay? The reason that we have tools, though, is so that you can use tools for consistency and getting good right away, all right? I don't want to try to have a metaphor for life here, but let's suffice to say that I'm going to show you how to do this one more time. If you don't believe me, keep your comments to yourself or put them in there. I don't know, but you're gonna look like a grump. Okay. You're just gonna look like a grouchy old turd if you leave a comment that says, Matt, you're doing it wrong. Some guys really like to look like grouchy old turds, so maybe that'll happen. All right. So what we're gonna do today is I've got two of these digital gauges, okay, and I'm gonna set them up again, and I'm going to zero both of them out, and then I'm gonna pull one of the gauges off, okay, and I'm gonna show you just how little the weight of the plunger impacts the tension of the string and its relationship to the bottom of the string to the top of the fret, okay? And remember, I have never once said that this will give you the perfectly exact reading. I said this is going to get you closer than you can with a feeler gauge, okay? All right. So let me get this set up. Let me move the camera so you can see everything, and then we're gonna pull. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave it set up here. Okay. So I'm gonna put one of these guys on the. Oh, one more thing. You will notice that my neck is not resting on anything. Okay. Like if I had my neck in a cradle, and I put one of these gauges on here, it is possible that I'm artificially stressing the neck by having it suspend between the butt end of the guitar and the neck cradle. So I'm just gonna let it rest here. So there's a gap between, there's nothing touching the neck. Okay, the neck is perfectly floating in space, held up by nothing but the body here. Okay, so I'm gonna position one of these feeler gauges on the A string, straddling the A, D, and G string, and straddling the 12th fret, okay? Then I'm going to put another one on the A string, straddling the A, D, and G string. Whoa. In this case, on the 9th fret, because I can't get it over the next fret because that they would touch, okay? So both these gauges are on the A string. They're both straddling the same A, D, and G string. We're going to zero them out, and then I'm going to pull one of them off, and you're going to see just how little the actual dial moves on the other one, okay? I'm going to get the camera. All right, you will notice that the dial gauge that is straddling the 12th fret is at 0, 0, 0, 0. The one that is over the 9th fret is at 0, 0, 0, 1, 5. But we're not gonna worry too much about that one. We're actually gonna pull. We're gonna pull the gauge that's over the 9th fret here. Okay. So I want you to watch and see. We're at 0, 0, 0. I'm going to pull this gauge off here. And now we're at 0, 0, 0, 2, 5, which means I think we moved 2.5 thousandths. Okay? Hardly any at all. And we'll put the, let's see, we'll put this guy back on here. Okay, now we're at, and you see we're at 0, 0, 0, 0 again. Now let's pull this one. Look, we're at 0, 0, 0, 1, 5. Are we on the right? Hold on a minute. Okay, now we're gonna pull. I got the one over the 9th fret set at 0, 0, 0. We're gonna pull the one off the 12th fret, and look, we moved it 1/1000th. Okay, so hardly any at all. Okay, so I hope that put to rest most of the people who said, oh, I forgot about the playing position one. The tricky bit for the playing position is because this guy is not spring loaded, gravity doesn't work on the side. Okay, so you can't, I mean, you could, I guess you could get it in there and you could kind of press down on it, but don't worry about that, gang. Just go ahead and leave it set. Make sure that the neck isn't touching anything. Put it on there and it will give you a reading. Okay? It gives you a number that you can use to then move and adjust your bridge screws. Now, I'm not suggesting, and in fact I have never suggested, that if you do that and you have it set to where the dial indicator with the gravity, the non-spring loaded plunger is going to press a little bit on the string. Let's say it presses down 1/1000th. Let's say it presses down 5/1000ths. But at least now you can set your, you can measure the guitar that you like, and you can come over and measure the guitar that you do like, and you think it's 60/1000ths. Let's just say you think it's, let's say it's this. Let's say you think it's 50/1000ths from the bottom of the string to the top of the 12th fret using this gauge here, but it's actually 55/1000ths. Horror of horrors. At least you're going off of something that's not jamming a piece of metal in there or using your calibrated eye, which is never calibrated, or your M1 finger and pressing on it. It gives you a real measurement. I've never once suggested that the weight of the plunger doesn't act on the string, especially in the middle of the at the 12th fret. But it's going to give you a baseline. It's going to give you a number. It's going to give you something that you can read. And especially if you go from one guitar that you like that's tuned the same, let's say that even has the same scale length, okay? Because one could argue, well, the scale of a Fender is going to be slightly different than the scale of that's you talking. You could make the argument that the scale will be okay, fine. Just get it close, okay? I would bet you that anyone who uses feeler gauges or uses the calibrated eye or the M1 finger can't get as close as this, even though it moves it 1/1000th or 2.5 okay? I would bet $100 that anyone, I'll bet $100 to anybody who wants to come out here and set up their guitar. I'll give you here's the bet. I'll give you a guitar that is set up the way that I think it should be set up, and I want you to match it without using any of these gauges, using feeler gauges, etc. Okay? And then I want somebody to come out and do it using these dial gauges. I guarantee you it'll be 1, faster, and 2, more accurate. Okay? So $100. I will pay $100 cash to anyone who wants to come out to my shop who can do it faster and more accurate without using this tool. Okay. Guys, if you've got a guitar that you really like and you get a new guitar and you're like, I don't want to fuss around with the nut, I don't want to mess around with, I've got, one of those little boxes of screwdrivers and stuff. This tool right here, they're not giving it away, okay? It's expensive, but it's expensive because it's good, all right? It's not overpriced. it's expensive and it's worth it. So I want you to get one of these if you're a guitar player and you like having your guitars set up and you like doing your own setup. I'll tell you what, buying one of these probably costs whatever it costs to have a guitar set up, and you can do it yourself. Okay, I'm not trying to steal money from the guitar setup industry, or maybe I am. Remember, I don't do repair work, so I do build work. And to everybody who does repair work, you guys are doing you're doing the Lord's work. That's tricky to do. It's hard to do, and it's a great skill to know. So, but I'm telling you, get you one of these. You know what else I should do? I should do a thing where no, that would be a setup. But I was thinking about, I should set up a guitar the way I want and then take it to somebody at like an unscrupulous guitar shop and ask them to set it up for me, and see what that seems like a tacky thing to do. I'm not going to do that. Okay, all right, gang. So get you some of these dial indicators or these digital indicator gauges, and with the cool StewMac little bridge thing that goes over that. It's made specifically for you, for your craft, for what you do, for something you're passionate about. Don't cheap out, okay? Get the good stuff. All right. If you guys have any questions about what we did, or if you want to leave me a cool comment or a grouchy comment, please feel free to do so. I'm having a great time doing these videos again, and I hope that you like what we're doing. If you want to support us on Patreon, please go over to our Patreon page and become a member. If you can't do that, though, please like the video, or better yet, share, leave comments, etc., etc. Until next time, this is your old buddy Uncle Matt reminding you that if you're so smart, start your own YouTube channel. That's what I did. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody.